Good evening, everyone, and thank you for spending your evening with us here at Art Center Sarasota. I know most of you in the room, but if you don't know me, my name is Kinsey Robb, and I have the distinct pleasure of being the Executive Director here at Art Center Sarasota. I'd like to thank, before we get started, our Exhibitions Department, our Director of Exhibitions, Christina Burrell, who's here with us tonight and will be in conversation with Clifford. And also new to our team, Cassie Andrews, who is also supporting our Exhibitions Department and is also working behind the scenes to ensure that our exhibitions are organized, our artist talks are on track, and our social media is booming. So thank you, Cassie. Also to the members and the donors and the sponsors who make this work possible, we thank you. We are a nonprofit, and we have a mission to bring art to the community, to have unadulterated expression that spans across all mediums, all concepts, and what we hope to always be able to bring is an open mind for dialogue and discussion. So I ask that we all get excited to engage with Clifford tonight and his work. We are proud to welcome Clifford. He's a local artist here in Sarasota whose exhibition Soundtrack explores the intersection between music, art, and Black culture. With a keen focus on the power of sound and its ability to inspire, uplift, and advocate for social justice, Clifford's paintings invite viewers to experience a multi-dimensional blend of auditory and visual narratives. This exhibit not only addresses the profound connection between music and art, but it also serves as a meaningful platform for shedding light on important issues of social justice, amplifying the importance of visual arts as a conduit for expression and engagement. We look forward to having you join us tonight to listen and to be in conversation with Clifford as he provides us with a glimpse into the resonant harmony of Soundtrack, sharing with us his creative vision to bridge the gap between these vital cultural elements. Welcome, Clifford.
Thank you.
Lindsay, and thank you all so much for coming. Before we get started, Clifford, I just wanted to congratulate you on the show. It has had an overwhelmingly positive response, and we're just delighted that it is here.
Thank you.
So for those of you that are not aware, Clifford, you were born and raised in Sarasota, something I cannot relate to. What was that experience like, and how did you first get into creating art as a kid?
First, I'm blessed to be a part of this exhibit, and I thank Art Center Sarasota for the opportunity. But growing up in Sarasota, I think I was exposed to a lot of different things, so I think that's where I really drew from, to get become creative and explore art. When I was younger, I just realized I was focusing more on trying to make my drawings look more 3D, and everyone else was doing stick figures. But I didn't think it was anything special, or I didn't think it was a gift or anything. But I went home one day with a sketch, and my mom was like, "Did you do this?" And I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "No, you didn't. Do it again." So I did it again, and then at that time she was taking some classes at Manatee Community College, and one of the electives she had was art. So she was bringing home her books, and I was trying to do different drawing lessons from the book she had. So that's really how I got into being creative.
That's awesome. So Clifford and I have talked about how you are an eternal optimist, which is hard to find these days. But were there any teachers, maybe at Booker High School, that sort of left this impression on you or inspired you to have this more positive outlook?
I would say that probably comes more from some of the basketball coaches I've had. I just think with most sports, you go through different challenges and adversity, and from that you learn to overcome it and just keep going. And I think it applies to life in general.
I mean, you're blessed to have that optimism, I think. But you did go to Booker High, which is a very well-known high high school in Sarasota for their arts specifically. Was there anything that really pushed you there?
Well, I went to Booker Middle also. So in middle school, I was in just a regular art class, and they realized that I had my skill was like higher than most kids, and they were like, you should be in the VP art program. I didn't know what it was, but I auditioned for that, and I ended up in that program, and that kind of led me to auditioning for the program at Booker High as well.
That's awesome. And then, unfortunately, you had a little bit of a hiccup in college with your thesis show. Tell us about that experience.
Oh no, that was tough because I thought like my work was really good, and but like they were really big on like presentation, and I didn't have money. First it was the first show I've ever done, and I didn't have money for frames and stuff like that, and I was painting on canvas panels, and they said they needed to be framed, so I had to like take out a loan, and I got like some cheap mainstays frames, and and try to do an exhibit. And I got a D, but it was all good. I was kind of upset, but it was all good.
Well, you may have gotten a D there, but you're certainly getting an A here. So after school, you actually went to go play professional basketball.
Yep. So I don't know, like in high school, I was not like the best player on my team or anything like that, but I just kept improving, trying to kind of like stole all my focus from art, really. And I wanted to be a basketball player. So I made it to college, and eventually I had a friend who is from Uruguay in South America, and he had helped me get connected with some teams there, and I went there and tried out for some teams, and finally I got on a team, and that was pretty much my focus for a lot of my adult life.
How many years?
Well, I was only there for one season, but I came back, and I was trying to get back in a position to play basketball, so I was really focusing on just getting better and trying to find an opportunity.
So you talked about how basketball really made you more optimistic. Were there any other things that you learned from the game that have influenced your artwork or your life?
My life, yeah, definitely. I think it's just overall, like my mindset, just keep going. Like you go through things, life happens, but you just gotta keep going. I think it helped me develop like a desire to want to be better at whatever it was I was doing. So I think I started listening to a lot of different like motivational speakers and stuff like that, like Anthony Robbins, Eric Thomas, some Napoleon Hill stuff like so.
That's really interesting. I never would have thought that basketball would have led you to emotional speakers or motivational speakers.
I think it's just a mindset and like just finding ways to improve. And I feel like at the time, like my mom was really big into like motivational speaking and stuff, so like it was something I got into as well.
So you mentioned your mom is an artist.
She's not an artist.
Well, she was in art classes.
Well, everybody's an artist, really, but she's not an artist. Like she doesn't like.
How does she feel about the show here?
She hasn't seen the show yet. She hasn't been here yet. I'm not sure why she didn't come. My stepdad came though. He was like really excited and proud of the exhibit. And my daughter was extremely proud.
Oh, well, you better get your mom down here eventually. So you came back from South America after playing in the professional league down there. And then you spent some really important time coaching at the YMCA basketball. And that's when you met the poet and educator Cedric Mead. Can you tell us a little bit about how you two first connected and what came next?
All right, so I was coaching youth basketball at the YMCA. And one of the parents, he was like, hey man, what do you do besides this? And I was like, it's like I work at a youth shelter. And he's like, oh really? Like cool. Like, I might have an opportunity for you. Like, he told me about this school. He said, you should come check it out. And I was like, cool, I'd definitely be interested in checking it out. It's an all-boys charter school. not sure if you heard of Visible Men Academy, but you know, so I think like 3 weeks went by, and we kept saying every week, "Oh no, I'm gonna talk with you. I'm gonna talk with you. Like we're gonna talk about it." And then finally, we set up like a kind of like a tour, and I met with the founder of the school, and I thought it was like a really good fit, and I got an opportunity to be like a teacher's aide there, and so like when I was there, I was really helping out in different classrooms, and then we were required to do a life enrichment course, and we got to choose whatever we wanted to teach. And naturally, I chose art. This is pretty much all I know other than basketball. So I started doing that for the enrichment course, and then like a couple years later, they were like, "Hey, I think you should just be the art teacher." We didn't have an art teacher, so I started teaching art, and that's when I started. Cedric seen what I was doing with the kids, and he was doing poetry with the kids, and he said we should work together and try to like maybe come up with some visual pieces to go with these poems. So we started collaborating that way, and that's how I really got into. Actually, I wasn't making my own art yet. I was just like instructing the kids, and then he said, "You should start getting back into your art and stuff." And so I started making my pieces, and I think a lot of what you see there is where I get the whole using words in art and creating like a piece.
So, I mean, being over there at the Visible Men Academy had quite a profound effect on you. I was hoping you could share with the audience what your gift was for your last year students.
Oh, so last year, I decided I was going to do like some portraits of, this is a real small school, so I think it was 11 fifth graders that graduated, and I decided to do portraits of them because that was the first group that, when I first got there, I think 2015, that was the first group, the younger kids that I worked with, that was the same, they were there for 6 years, from kindergarten to 5th grade, so that was kind of special to be able to, give them that gift. Cool.
And what inspired you to give them portraits of themselves?
Well, I just, I don't know, I wanted to do something nice for them, but I thought it'd be cool for them to see themselves as art. I remember going on a lot of field trips when I was younger, and like if you go to the Wrigley Museum, like you see the artwork, you don't really see like Black people represented in that artwork, and I just thought it was cool for these minority children to be able to see themselves in art.
I think that's a really, really generous gift that you gave those kids that probably they won't figure out until maybe a decade from now. But I commend you for that. So going back to that, seeing yourself in artwork, when was the first time that you saw yourself in an artwork or connected with the subject matter that made you feel like you were at home?
I would say I didn't really see myself in art, so that's like probably what pushed me to make art the way I make art. But I think I'm a huge fan of Kahindi Wiley. A lot of his work. I mean, I see like young Black men in his work, and I think that's really powerful.
And it's something about the feeling of those works as well. It's not just that there's a Black man in the picture, but it's also the whole scene and the whole feeling of those works.
Yeah, I think he does a great job of painting, his figures in like a positive light. It's just like, it's beautiful, like it's like flowers, it's all floral in the background, and it's just not the same way you see Black people represented usually.
Absolutely. So when you first saw his work, was there, how did that connection make you feel?
I really was just amazed to see, he really probably one of the first Black artists in general, that I saw, become very successful and make, that very realistic artwork, and I just thought it was cool, just the subject matter. I've just never seen it before, so I was inspired to, do the same pretty much.
Well, I know that when visitors have been coming in here, the first thing they realize is the bold colors. And you know, what exactly inspired that energetic feel of these colors going on?
I think it's actually less bold. Like I think when I first started, I was like using a lot of color, like extreme, and I'm not like sure exactly where that came from. But when I was a junior in high school, I decided to try to I don't know, I just started blending like random colors, and I think it was because I was having trouble blending natural colors, and my teacher at the time came up to me and was like, "Do you know who Leroy Neiman is?" And I'm like, "No." But she's like, "This really reminds me of him, like, because I did a painting of Tiger Woods, and I used a bunch of colors, and then I saw his work, and I was like pretty fascinated. I was like in love. I'm like, oh, this is my thing. I'm doing these colors, and so that's pretty much where I kind of kept with the whole color palette that I use."
So you've got Kende Wiley, Leroy Neiman, and you've also mentioned Tim Okamura as an inspiration in your work. I know personally, looking at Tim's work, the thing that really strikes me as being an influence on you is the eyes. Can you just explain the importance and the relevance of this piercing gaze that you have throughout all your subjects?
So I really like the texture in his work, and but like in his eyes, he adds a lot of detail. And I think when I start most of my pieces, I focus most on the eyes, and I think kind of draws the viewer in. Like it's almost like a person's staring at you. So his work is it's really I feel like I'm standing there and looking at him. That's kind of what I want to do with my portraits as well.
And what are you hoping that the viewer reads from the eyes of your subjects?
I don't know, maybe how they feel, and that's probably up for interpretation, but I think the image coupled with the words that I use in the piece, they can kind of get an idea and connect with it that way.
Absolutely. I've mentioned to Clifford before that Latasha over here is certainly the one that stands out to me the most in that gaze. For anyone that's not familiar with the story of Latasha Harlins, she was actually killed in a convenience store, or by a convenience store owner in '91, and her death, along with the beating of Rodney King, were ammunition for the '92 riots. So I'm wondering, why was it important for you to depict her in this image, maybe instead of Tupac himself?
I think originally I was gonna do Tupac, but I learned about that story and I was like, wow. I just thought it was important to show her who she was, and I think I was really gonna do a completely different song. I was gonna do the song "Changes" by Tupac, but when I heard that song was dedicated to her, and I read the story to find out who she was, I thought it was important to show her in the image.
It's really interesting, actually. I don't know if any of you guys are Tupac buffs, but he mentions Latasha in a lot of his songs. And I'm curious if there's anyone that you think might be returning into your work as a subject. Other than maybe Marley.
I was gonna say probably Marley, but I don't know. I really don't know. I've done a Tupac portrait before, but I definitely probably would mess around with that again.
I mean, he's a great one to paint. So let's talk a little bit about the lyrics behind these songs. What was the first song that sparked the inspiration for this show?
I would say probably the song "Changes" that I didn't even use. I was just trying to think of songs that had positive, meaning, or something that focused on social issues, and that was one of the first songs that I thought of. But then I decided I was gonna just listen to a bunch of music, and I kind of just picked as I listened, oh, that might be it. And I had a whole list of songs, and some of them didn't get used. But I think the one that I used that I first decided was going to be on the list was the "Neighbors" by J. Cole.
Well, so this is the portrait over here of J. Cole. Could you talk a little bit about the importance of the title of that work? It's stereotypical, and I know it's important to you that your work uplifts the perception of Black culture. So can you tell us a little bit about that relationship?
So that song, like when I heard the song, I already knew like kind of like where he was going with the lyrics and like what it meant and what he was trying to, the message he was trying to say. It was just about like just how Black people are racially profiled and you know, you just assume they're a certain way. And I was more into it when I found a video of him like explaining what happened, like why he wrote those lyrics, and like an actual event had taken place. Like he moved into a wealthy neighborhood, you know, the suburbs, you call it, and I guess his house was raided. The neighbors called the cops on him. And so he came up with this song. I guess the neighbors think I'm selling dope. So, because they like raided his house, he got like surveillance footage and breaking doors down and stuff. And like he was like, I just moved there. There was nothing in my house but like my studio. And he said it's just crazy that they all just, you know, just came in there. And you see him like turning the cameras around, like so. But I think it's just, I think we make a lot of mistakes, and like people in general, when we look at somebody and think they're a certain way, and we, you know, act on that based on what we think about, you know, who they might be, instead of getting to know who they are. And that's why I have Trayvon in that picture somewhere, because that's what happened to him. He like lost his life because of how he looked in the neighborhood.
So I think that's a great segue to, you know, a lot of your images here, the portraits, the subjects are wearing hoodies, right? And that's how Trayvon was killed. So is there anything, you know, specific about sort of the other photographs that you're including in these works, specifically on like the hoodie images?
Well, so the one with Alicia Keys over there, that's Sandra Bland. And she describes like what happened with her and, you know, how she ended up losing her life. And same with this one over here with Anderson Paak. He mentions George Floyd. And this one is actually Meek Mill himself up there because, you know, I don't know how old he is in that photo, probably like 17 or something. But he was like arrested and like did a whole bunch of time. Like he was like on this crazy length of time for his what do you call it, probation.
Yeah.
And it was like impossible for him to like, you know, like do that. And he ended up being arrested again for violating. And he was a big advocate in, you know, police reform and stuff like that. So, you know, that's what happened. And then for comment, I used Nina Simone because this song Misunderstood, like he uses her song Misunderstood as a sample in there. And you know, this was just about being misunderstood, and I think that fits with the whole exhibit, like, because we are misunderstood, and just take a little effort to just get to know people before, you know, you make a judgment.
I'm hoping you can tell us a little bit about like this cyclical nature of the lyrics. So I know it's beautiful Black boys and girls is super important. And then, you know, it goes through this progression. Can you just tell us a little bit about why those lyrics were so important?
So these are all lyrics from the songs. It's just pieces from, you know, each song, and I tried to piece it together to kind of create a dialogue. So if someone was telling beautiful Black girls and boys, you can be anything in the world, you're special. If they're in a situation like Meek Mill, they might feel like, well, how can we? In the song, he says, "How can we follow our dreams locked in a prison?" And but then it turns to something positive. He said, "You can't lock the soul of a man down." And then, so then this is from "Keep Your Head Up If You Fail, Stand Tall and Come Back for More." And it's kind of just creating like a conversation, and it creates like a cycle about like you have like these dreams, and then, you know, it ends over there. People came marching in the street that day. People are rising, and because they ended up like with a Trayvon kind of fate. J. Cole mentions in his song, and it's just like these dreams end up like being taken away, and that Alicia Keys portrait. She says another dream lost. That's one of the lyrics in the songs too. So like I feel like you grow up, you're born, and it's like, oh, you're so cute, and then eventually, you're a full-grown man, and maybe because of stereotypes, you might be viewed a certain way, and you end up losing like it all. So just kind of creating a dialogue to make a conversation.
I think the addition of the lyrics is super successful, especially for someone that comes into the room that's not familiar with some of these artists. Could you tell us a little bit about your experimentation with the black and white on the portraits and how that sort of relates to your overall theme?
I really don't know. Like I was really experimenting. Like this whole piece, with this whole exhibit, I was experimenting with this work. I was trying to just add more because I'm usually just focused on like the portrait, but I wanted to add more to it and make it more creative or like more my own. And I think initially I was going to like just do those black and white, but I know I added the color to it as well. I'm not pretty sure like that I put a lot of thought into that, but I was just experimenting.
I mean, I think it provides a very powerful effect on the portraits, especially when you consider the race of the individual and the story that you're sort of telling. So keep at it. But, so I don't know if you guys are familiar, but hip hop turned 50 this year. And there's been a lot of discussion about how the genre has influenced not only the United States, but communities throughout the globe. And Chuck D from Public Enemy explained that hip-hop ties human beings for their similarities and knocks the differences to the side. It's a movement. So I'm hoping you can share with us a little bit about why it's important for you that the work resonate to a broader audience.
I think it's important because a lot of people they have like their preferences in genre of music, and like I said, like sometimes people might say, "Oh, hip hop is this or that," but if you really like look into it and search for maybe a specific type of hip hop, you realize that some of the lyrics in these songs like actually have meaning, and it's all not just like club bangers, but some of these songs actually have meaning, and I think the words are very powerful, and I think all over the world people use those to express themselves. I think originally when hip hop was born, that's what it was like about.
Like a resistance movement.
And now we have like the Brooklyn Museum or the Brooklyn Library doing a whole dedicated thing to Jay-Z and his lyrics. It's amazing.
So were there any artists or specific songs that didn't quite make the cut for the exhibition?
Yeah, I got a list out. Yeah, I'm not sure which ones. Like I said, Changes was one of them. It was a lot of the same artists though, but different songs from them. Like Common, The People was a song I was thinking about using. I was going to use Change Gonna Come. Quite a few songs, but we narrowed it down.
So, in addition to being a basketball coach, an educator, and an advocate for the youth, our younger generations, you're also a father. I would love for you to tell us a little bit about the portrait of Marley and how she helped with its creation, but also the song behind it.
All right, so I was always going to do a portrait of Marley. I didn't know when, but like this was it. And when I first started sketching it, like she was so excited because it was just like the sketch of her, and it was really like you couldn't really see like anything but like some pencil lines. And I was like, "Who is it?" She was like, "Me." Like, she might have said Marley. She just said her own name, but like when I finished, pretty much finished, I wanted her to be able to like have a add some touches to it. So she made like some little flowers down here. And she drew a heart. Not sure if you see that on the arm.
Yeah.
And, but like when I was like, all right, that's enough. I left the room and I had put the like painting up on the floor against the wall, and I come back and she got like a big white mark on the face, and I'm like, Like, no. So it was still wet, so I could wipe it off. But I was like, Marty, we'll do some artwork. We'll do some artwork. She was like, well, you ever drawing the whole thing? And I was like, yeah. But you know, like, she really likes the song "Special" by Lizzo. We're in the car all the time singing that song. She's like, "Put special on, put special on." So I thought that was a cool song to use to represent her. Because I tell her like all the time, she's special, she's awesome. And I have her saying it back, like, I'm special, I'm awesome, and stuff like that. I'm strong, and stuff like that. So I really thought that was an important piece to make. And I think just women in general need to, that song is like a women's empowerment song almost. And I think it's important for her to see that as well.
Why was it so important for you to include Marley and this other young man in your work for this show?
Well, I just wanted, I think, like I said, kids need to see themselves like represented, and I think it was really cool when another girl was in here during the opening, and she ran right up to this piece, and my daughter was running around like trying to touch stuff. I'm like, no, you can't touch the paintings. And the girl came up and touched this painting. She touched my painting. I'm like, oh, sorry, man. She just likes it. But this is one of the students from Visible Men Academy, and for that song I used "I Can" by Nas. And when I went on the tour to that school, one of the teachers, when I went into the classroom, he was playing that song and video for the kids, and I just every time I see that or hear that song, I think about Visible Men Academy. So, and like I said, it's important for kids to see themselves, and that's what the school's all about. That's why it's called Visible Men Academy. It's about them, just seeing themselves in other people who are doing like positive things in the community.
So it may have been Zach's child that touched your painting. But luckily Marley didn't, knock over any of the sculptures, so it's all good.
I was careful in there. I was like, no, stay away from this.
So you have quite a lot on your plate. You are a coach, you're a teacher, you run your own nonprofit, Art for Change. How is that going?
I mean, it's a struggle. It's going though. Like I'm just moving forward with it. Like it's a lot to do. I got working being a dad. It's hard to really find time to really focus on it. But I think it's something that I'm gonna have to be able to do full time one day. And so right now I'm just doing what I can. And Art for Change is an organization that uses the transformative power of art to create social change. Right now we have an exhibit at Forgettyville. And I'm just really trying, I really want, that's like my passion really. And hopefully one day I can do that full time.
So you think you'll continue painting at this rate?
Oh, definitely. I'll definitely keep painting.
I mean, more power to you. Running a nonprofit, teaching, painting, it's all good. It's always really exciting to see an artist that's taking risks and finding their own aesthetic. You mentioned to me that the body of work and soundtrack is almost like a jumping off point for something more. And I'm just wondering if you can tell us, where's the desire coming from to be more experimental, more expressive in your work? So at Visible Men Academy, they did like an art exhibit type thing. And a company from Memphis came down, and they had some artists in there, and one of the artists, Leroy Campbell, he was like the main artist in the exhibit, and people were at the school like, hey, how come you didn't put anything in there? And I'm like, I didn't know. So I grabbed a couple of my pieces, and they let me put it in the exhibit, and he saw them, and he was like, man, this is like amazing, but he was saying I need to add like more elements to my background. He was just giving me some tips and stuff like that. And I had always felt that way.
And he does a lot of collage in his pieces, so like maybe I was inspired by his work where I started adding those different like collage elements. But I definitely want to like just keep adding on to it and seeing where it will go.
That's awesome. Do you have a particular favorite in the show? Other than Marley, of course. Off the table.
It's probably the J. Cole one or the one Common right here.
I think for most audiences, Common is kind of like the most well-known face of the group, but I think it's really important that you're highlighting these other artists as well. What do you see next coming for your artistic style or the next body of work that's going to be in the show?
That's going to be in the show, I don't know, but I definitely do like an exhibit with Marley though, where I let her just like really just mess up the canvas or unify the canvas. Like I don't know. I want to do like a collaboration.
That sounds wonderful. You definitely need to talk to Zach about getting his kids involved as well.
Collab happening.
Yeah.
They're like all the same age-ish. To me, they're the same age. Well, thank you so much, Clifford. This has just been such a wonderful show to have, and it's beautiful and bright, and more importantly, there's such a story behind it, and we're so glad that we can share it with you. I'm sure the audience has many questions, and I will open it up to them now.
Could you talk a little bit about the process of how you approach painting? Do you work from a photograph? Do you do a sketch first? Are you using acrylics or oils?
I use acrylic, and I usually start off with just an idea of what I'm going to do. Like sometimes it changes, but I use acrylic. I do the background first usually, and it's kind of more like an abstract piece, and then I do the sketch on the top of it. And I kind of just pull colors. I'm not sure which ones I'm going to use initially.
Portraits, what made you say, this is me, I need to do portraits?
I think I don't know, I'm intrigued by like people. I know when I was younger, I like really found myself just like staring at people, and I had to learn to stop doing it. But I like faces. Okay.
Well, luckily you grew up in Sarasota, where you can stare at people. New York, not so much.
Yeah.
I know, Clifford, that you've had the experience of exhibiting with Embracing Our Differences, and I'm wondering what it's like to see your work that large, and if you're willing to share if you submitted anything this year, kind of what your inspiration has been there.
So the first time I submitted and got a piece in there, I thought it was like incredible to see my work like at that like size, and I don't know, it's just really amazing. And I did submit this year. I submitted a couple pieces. I'm not sure what will happen or when they let us know, but I did submit this year.
As a father and an artist, like, how do you find the time? Like, do you work in the kitchen, in one of the bedrooms? Like, do you work at home? Like, how do you find time, like, balancing, like,
so
having meltdowns and things?
I'm usually in the room, but like mostly Marley sleep, or if she's with her mom, then that's when I find the time to work on art. Right.
So you have a separate room in your house or in the garage?
Oh no, it's where I sleep.
Home studios?
Home studios.
Like on Jennifer's point, like when you see your work so magnified, like for the size of something that's happening and Embracing Our Differences, or for example, when you have an individual piece in a show like Visions in Black, with Suncoast Black Arts Collaborative, what does that feel like in comparison to the difference? I guess the pros, maybe the successes and the challenges you see when you're given a room to explore a body of work, because it's no longer an individual piece, it's a collection, you know, and maybe walk us through that process of, because I imagine that's really exciting, and also it's a challenge when you're given all of that space. What was your process in that here? Or was it good, or was it bad, or was it, you know, all of those things?
So like a collective gallery with other artists and stuff like that?
Or like where it's all you.
Or just in here?
You're not like one of 20, you know, you're just you.
All right. I don't think it needs to be bigger. I think this smaller space is like more intimate, and I think for how close up you are on the portrait is still like bigger.
Did you find it like how like that editing process of creating all of these individual pieces to combine to create one kind of story?
Mm-hmm. So initially I did the J. Cole and then Aku and Naru Queenie piece first. And I completed the J. Cole one before I started on that one, but the same with Natasha, Ryan, and Marley over here. I completed all those with these last four. I kind of worked on them all, you know, at the same time, and kind of just like added elements as I went on. So that's how that process went with those pieces.
I think related to, if I could build on that, in terms of the, I'm connected to the Lexell Gallery at the Unitarian Universalists, not church anymore, and I've had people that work with artists that have done solo shows, and they've talked, particularly if it's their first solo show, they talk about the experience of walking into the gallery and being surrounded by all of their work. And I was wondering if how that is for you. It's like, oh, pretty good.
No, I was like really pleased with how this turned out. This is my second solo show, I would say, but this is the first one where it's all in one room. Mm-hmm. Like I have some stuff at Art Ovation, but it's on like 3 separate floors. Yeah. So like it was a good feeling to just see all my work in here all at once.
Tying into that, I mean, this is so amazing. It's such an incredible, and I'm sorry that it's finishing soon. Can this go somewhere else? Is it going to travel? Or do you have any thoughts and inspirations to have it move to another venue at some point? The same show. It can be.
I'm not sure. I would like that. I would like for that to happen.
Yeah.
I would hate to just
powerful.
Have them sitting in
I mean, it is the 50th anniversary of hip hop. You've got some leeway, I think.
Is there any connections there?
Let's get you on the radio.
So Clifford, taking off on Marley's, which I loved, and when I got up close and saw that she had actually added some pieces to that like just killed me. I just loved it. Did you let the kids in the school that you did the portraits for, were they allowed to add anything?
No, because those are more like finished, and they got them like on graduation day, so they're like presented to them like after they graduated.
Is that something you might consider? Letting them approach the portraits themselves and say, is there something I want to add to that? Or
yeah, I plan to work with kids.
Other than the big white slide across the face.
I plan to do some projects with some kids through like Art for Change and stuff like that, but I'm not sure if like I have time to like collaborate with them.
It's complicated, but I don't know, for me as a viewer, that really got me, so.
Well, we do have a youth program here. We are always looking for youth-based projects and artists, collaborations. So maybe Art for Change will pop up here in the future.
I'm sure the parents would love it if we gave them a box of temporary tattoos to add to their
That's a great idea.
any of these celebrities, as of yet, seen their portraits?
I'm not sure.
There you go.
I did a Roberto Clemente painting, and I posted it, and it seemed like his son had saw it and liked it, so that was cool.
That is nice. So you wouldn't mind that if the Common or Alicia Keys or J. Cole saw it?
No, that'd be great. Yeah.
See if you can make that happen.
Any self-portraits?
No, I don't think I ever done this. Actually, like for a project in like high school or something, like an assignment, I've done one, but I haven't really explored it myself.
Self-portrait. Next series.
Yeah.
You don't get on my side of the camera, huh? This isn't.
Well, unless anyone has any other questions, I think we're gonna wrap it up. And of course, you have some time to talk to Clifford on your own. And just as a reminder, all these works are for sale. So support Clifford in any way you can.